Hello everyone, I've got a recycling stroke trash to treasure project for you today. As you can see, I've got some padded envelopes. I've got this brown one here. All of these have been used. Some are worse than others, but let's recycle all of these so that we can put them to good use. I think we're all conscious, aren't we, these days, of trying to recycle as much as we can. Now, I've got one brown one and 3 white ones. I must admit, the white ones are easier than the brown ones, but you know, these are doable as well. And what you're going to need is either some white paint or some white gesso to start off with. What I'm going to do is cover the whole of this envelope in some white gesso. So I'm just going to go over the front and the back. The good thing about using gesso is that it dries incredibly quickly. So I'm just going to go over the whole of the envelope. You can see that that's covering up the address really nicely. And as I've said, I'm just going to do this front and back. Let me just put that to one side for a second and grab one of the white ones. All you need to do with the white ones is just cover up the labels, because of course the background of the envelope is white anyway. So, you know, these take less time to cover up. You can either leave any of the branding visible if you want to, or cover it up like I've done here. The back is already plain, so you know that one was really quick and easy. So I'm just going to go off now and cover up and prepare all of these envelopes. As you can see, I've covered up all of the labels and the writing on my envelopes. That was the tan coloured one, so that's now looking pretty good. There's this one here. That one had quite a bright label on it, and this one here. And whilst those are drying, I just want to mix up some glue. Now, I'm just going to use PVA glue and water. So I've got an old yoghurt pot here. I'm just going to pour a good amount. And because this has got a lid, it means that I can keep it. So I'm just going to pour a really good amount of glue into my yoghurt pot. There we go, that should do. This is just regular PVA glue, and I'm going to water it down. So where's my water? And you want about 3 parts glue to 1 part water. I'm just going to eyeball it, and if it's still too thick and gloopy, I can add some more. I'm just going to use a paintbrush here to mix the glue and water thoroughly together. I don't want this to be too thick, because I'm going to cover my envelopes with napkins, and if your glue is too thick, it's just too difficult to work with. So there we are. We could probably do with a bit more water. Let's add a tad more. If that's too runny, I can just add a bit more glue, but this should be fine. And I'm just using a really old paintbrush here. You don't want to use your good paintbrushes for this. That's perfect. That's about the right consistency. So I would say this is the consistency of single cream. I've chosen some napkins that I want to use to cover up my envelopes, and I've chosen napkins with a solid pattern. In other words, it's a pattern that covers the whole of the napkin, all 4 squares. We've got this one here. Love these. I've got 2 of these. This is a napkin that I received from Ninny's Napkins, as is this one here. This is a really nice design as well. And, you know, either of these could be used if you were sending a gift out to a male, whereas, you know, because I think that these are quite masculine designs, or, you know, could be used for either or. Got 2 of those as well. This one here is beautiful. This is a William Morris design. So we've got this one here, and the hardest thing I'm going to find is deciding which napkins I want to use. I've got this floral one here, and your dark coloured napkins, such as this one or this one here, would be perfect for covering brown envelopes. So we've got that one. I've also got this one here, which has got more of a wintry feel. Absolutely beautiful again. Let me just show you this one. And I know that many of you have probably already got this napkin here. I think this one was sourced from one of the supermarkets here in the UK. And I've got this one, which is an IKEA napkin. Again, sort of this one, I would say, is quite a masculine design. So I'm going to choose which napkins I want to use, and I'm just going to take the plies apart. All of these are 3-ply napkins, so I'm just going to peel the plies apart just so that I'm left with the top layer. Let's start off with this napkin here. So I'm using this envelope here, which is the driest of all 4, just because it's had the least gesso on it. And all I'm going to do is just apply some glue over the whole of the front cover of my envelope. So just plenty of watered down glue. As I say, this is just watered down PVA glue. And I'm going to do all of it at once. You don't want to use something like art glitter glue because it would just dry too quickly. That's not ideal for this kind of project. Matte medium would work, I'm sure, but you know, this is just stickier, and seeing as it's going through the mail, I just feel that this is a stronger glue option. And I'm applying it over the top of the envelope here as well. Going to need to do a bit of patching, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that in a second, because the napkin isn't quite big enough. Then all you want to do is just stick your napkin down, and I'm just going to make sure that I've got it all the way to the very edge. Just be careful when you're doing this, because you don't want to tear it. And I'm just going to smooth this out. I've got that fold in the middle where the napkin has been folded, but just being really gentle, just pressing this down. And you're going to end up with loads of wrinkles with this, and that is absolutely fine. There's nothing you can do about it. No point really grabbing your cling film, because you are just not going to be able to avoid the wrinkles. Now I've got quite a lot of excess napkin on the side here, and I'm just going to cut this off because I want to patch this to the top of my envelope where the flap is. So let's just cut that off, move this down, and let's see if we can, oh, careful not to tear it. Can you see where the glue is stuck to my finger? But I'm just going to try and match this up as best as I can. About there, that will do fine. You see we've matched up the lines, and then I'll be able to just trim this bit off at the top. Now you do want to make sure that you're going over your envelope, just to make sure that it's all pressed down, especially around the edges. I don't want to turn it over and lay it flat, just because the glue is still wet on the underside, and I don't want it to stick to my scrap paper. But I'm just pressing really gently to try and get that to stick to my padded envelope. And then I'm just going to go over the top with another coat of glue. And that will be it. I shall just then leave it set to one side for it to completely dry. So just go over this. Again, just be really gentle when you're doing this, because, you know, it's very fragile and you don't want your napkin to tear. But this will just give it a nice coating so that it can go through the mail again. And the napkin is not going to come unstuck or tear. And who wouldn't love to receive a parcel that looks like this? And once we've tidied up the edges, it will look absolutely beautiful. Now the whole of my envelope is covered in another layer of glue, watered down glue. So I'm just going to stick it off on a piece of parchment paper and leave it for an hour or so for the glue to dry. Just look how gorgeous these envelopes are. They're not quite dry, they're still a little bit damp, but they're dry enough for me to touch. Now these three here are fine on the back, with the exception of this one here. I might do something just to this part here. That one's fine, and that one's absolutely fine, so I'm just going to leave those ones as they are. This one is still a bit of a mess because of course I've used the gesso to cover up and dress and label that was on the back. So I am going to add another napkin to the back of this one here and see if I can do something to patch up this bit here. And as soon as I've done that, I'll be back to show you. My padded envelopes have been drying overnight and they look and feel absolutely wonderful. They have the most amazing texture. I'm so pleased with these. Of course, this is the one that I decided to decorate front and back. The flap has been cut off this one here, so all I would need to do is just add a bit of sellotape. And then, of course, all you need to add then is just a piece of plain paper with your mailing address, a smaller piece. Let's just fold this one over just to give you an idea. Just put your sender's details on the back, and then I think the recipient, hopefully, if it's not spoiled too much in the mail, will be able to just put another piece of paper over the top and hopefully resend it onto someone else. So hopefully, you know, they'll have a third or even fourth use, who knows. Now, of course, this one here was the one that was really messy on the back. I just added a small piece of napkin. So if you've only got one napkin and maybe, you know, a few offcuts, then, you know, great to cover up little, you know, tatty areas of your recycled padded envelope. But again, I just think this looks wonderful. And then here are the other two. These are both plain on the back, but I just think it's a super way of recycling those tatty old padded mailing envelopes and giving them a second lease of life. Well, I'm leaving the video here for today, but I hope it's given you some ideas as to how to upcycle and repurpose those tatty old padded envelopes that many of us have got stashed away, waiting for us to do something with. As always, if you've enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. But most importantly, thanks for watching. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.